So this game is just crazy. I mean, no one would have predicted this when the round started, that it would be over in just 19 moves. The guy with black, David Coleman, was a candidate master, a master player. There are not many of them in the world. Yet Emory Tate, with the white pieces here, an international master from the US who sadly died in 2015, famous also for being Andrew Tate's dad, just dismantled him in this game. He was a ferocious attacker. So let's see how he did it here. This is the 1993 Open, and by the way, I've got a fascinating documentary coming on this very Open related to chess cheating. You do not want to miss it, so hit subscribe if you haven't already. So he kicks off here with e4. We see c5, the Sicilian defense, knight f3, d6, and now the open Sicilian is played. The knight recaptures, and we see these knights developing, and now this pawn comes to a6. It takes away this square from the minor pieces, and this is known as the Najdorf defense. And now this bishop develops really aggressively, and Bobby Fischer loved to play this one, and it's now called the Fischer-Sozin attack. Now the king is attacked, so that one gets blunted by this pawn, and now the bishop drops back already, preempting this b5 move, which now gets played, and here we see this bishop developing, again an aggressive square. This time it pins the knight and so inadvertently defends this e4 pawn. So this bishop breaks the pin here, but here comes the queen. Very, very aggressive intentions now, eyeballing this rook, preparing e5. What does black do? Well, queen c7, a good move, because it keeps an eye on this square, but also prepares to support bishop to b7. Now both players castle, and then here Emory, he just goes for it as he loved to do, pushes on with this pawn. And it invites a really fascinating queen sack line, but his opponent backs down. So if it had played bishop b7, this is the main move. You give up the queen, grab another minor piece. Now because the rook's attacked, you've got to save it. Then you take this one and you get 3 minors for the queen. Crazy, interesting position. Has been seen in other games. But we didn't get that. We got takes on e5. Now, the problem with this move is it opens up some tactics which Emory now finds. You'd love to take this rook straight away, right? But the problem is black takes here and they're hitting a second minor piece. So you'd have to save it and then the queen gets trapped. Only got one square and bishop c5 shuts the trap. You can also go knight c6. And so this is one of the key reasons here, if we rewind back to here, why we now see bishop takes on f6 played. Because it decoys this bishop away from this key diagonal, no kind of queen trap ideas in the air anymore. And now this knight is free to move, and then you can take this rook. And that's the key thing. You still don't want to take the rook straight away or you lose the knight, the pawn carries on munching. But what's the best square to move this knight to before you try and take that black rook? Can you find this one? So the best way to play here is knight takes on e6, and the reason being you fork these two pieces so you don't have time to actually block this diagonal like this, for example, or then you can take the rook, or there's even this bishop to d5 moves, an absolute killer when you've eliminated that e6 pawn. But if we run it back here, what we saw instead in the game was knight takes on b5. Still a good move if you found that one. Now the reason it's not so strong as taking here is now the queen sidesteps, you're not forced to recapture that knight, and so you're not losing this rook in the corner. Now you could take here, bishop recaptures, then go knight d6, but then you lose this pawn. Now the variation goes on, looks good because you're opening the g file, but the bishop can step back here, eventually come to g6, block everything out, black's doing okay. So if we run it back here, we didn't see takes on b7, instead this knight hopped in, forked these two pieces, so the queen took here, pawn recaptures, this opens up the g file, could be used later, and now black develops with the bishop, not necessarily the strongest move, but not too bad. Computer preferred the knight coming there, for example, but now Emory brings this knight into the game, and here black goes wrong. You cannot allow that bishop to drop and open up the g file, so I'm highlighting a couple of moves which were better here. But black instead goes bishop c6, slicing down this long diagonal, but they've overlooked a mate in 6. It's gone from about level to mate in 6. So can you find the combination of moves here? And if you've enjoyed this video, do hit that like button and let me know. So the way to go is takes with check. What else? Pawn recaptures. Then you land this rook check. The king has to sidestep, but can you find the final finishing move to mate the king? So the way to go is knight takes on f7. This was the final move of the game. Here David Coleman resigned. Why? Because if the rook recaptures, forced, you then give a check along the back rank and this rook is blocked out. This is the problem. So you have to start blocking with pieces now. Check, rook blocks, checkmate. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see the fascinating chess cheating documentary on this very tournament which is on the way, and see another incredible game. Check out this video on screen. Thanks for watching and see you soon.